Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jameson Vaughn. If you didn't know already, I recently got back from a trip to Kenya where we mainly stayed at an orphanage, but we did some extra things. So as I got home, I wanted to share my stories and everything we did there. But I thought I'd make it a little more interesting, so I brought my grandparents on just in case they had some questions that maybe I didn't answer. So I hope you enjoy. All right. So I'm going to tell you about our trip, or my trip. So I'm just going to go through my photos and kind of explain what we did with some picture proof, I guess. So this is when we first got there. I just took a video. That's the airport that we're at right now. Nothing too exciting. That's Ryan. He was our leader of the trip. I'm not going to go through every single one because just a lot of random stuff. So when we were on our way um, to the orphanage, we saw this. I don't know if you can see what it is. It's a video. Do you see what those are?
Chickens?
Yeah. So they had like 10, 15 chickens on the back of this motorcycle, and they were still alive. So they were like throwing up as they were going down the street.
Oh my goodness.
They so a lot of people drive these sort of motorcycles, and they pile bunches and bunches of stuff on the back of them. So that was like the smallest thing we saw. One time we were driving down the main street in the town, and there was a full two-seater couch on the back of their motorcycle. They just drove it around town like that. And then I just took some videos while we were driving down the street just to show kind of what it's like. But pretty much every building in Africa or in the area has, I don't know if it's the country or all of Africa, but they all have walls
Hmm.
with either glass or barbed wire or anything sharp at the top. I don't know the full reason why, but like all residential buildings have that. And it's kind of hard to explain like what it's like driving down because it's just different than America. Like, see, they have a barbed wire fence all the way around. And the Wi-Fi must not be too good because it's not loading.
Wow.
And that was just on our first day. So we had a 14-hour flight there
To where?
so we flew into JFK, and then we had from Columbus, and then we had a 14-hour flight from JFK to Nairobi, which is the capital of Kenya. And then we had a 2-hour-ish drive from there. So we got there at sundown because we did a couple extra things. So we went to the Java House, which is like a restaurant that they have. It's kind of Americanized where you can, all the water's clean and stuff, and the food is clean, so you can get burgers or whatever and coffee. And then we went to feed some giraffes at a giraffe park. Because Ryan said he did that 1 year before, and they had a lot of fun, so they went back, or we went back to feed the giraffes. It's not loading very well.
And how many were in your group?
It was like 12 the first week, and then like 5 people left, and some more people came. So then the second week it was 10 people. And then there's another video of a giraffe. This is us driving past the slums, the Nairobi slums. It's kind of hard to tell in video, but it's very massive. I read that it's the second largest, or it's the first largest urban slums. So like urbanized slums, maybe in Africa.
Mm.
I forget. But it's pretty big.
Now, who comprised your group? Were they all from the Dayton area?
Most were, so there were a couple from who went to Dayton Christian. So Ryan Bostatter, I've told you, was my middle school teacher
Mm-hmm.
at Dayton Christian. And then there were at least two other people who he was their middle school teacher, or three other people. And then others were like church, they went to church with him, or they knew, or somebody knew of them. So it's pretty local. There was one kid who was from Indiana.
Now, does he put these trips together annually?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have a podcast with him, so like this basically, but with Ryan Bostatter, where I'll ask him about Kenya and everything. But he started, the first year I went was 2018, and we went through Dayton Christian that was like the 1 year that
Right.
Dayton Christian did it. But then he started a nonprofit organization called UNAFA, which is Swahili for You Matter, and now he does the trips through UNAFA. So he's the like president, you can say, and then they have board members, and then they have people who work in Kenya for them. So I'll go over that later as well when we go through the pictures. But I'll send you the podcast because it'll be really interesting. I've learned a lot since this trip, compared to last trip, I feel like.
Uh-huh.
So we got there Saturday evening, and then we woke up on Sunday, and Ryan, or UNAFA, partnered with a local church called AIC, and it's more, I'd say more similar to like what we have around here, maybe, like preaching wise, but it's completely different going to church there than here because all the people dance. So like all the singing, there's like usually like 10, 15, 20 people up in the front doing a certain dance. So it was really fun to watch those. And the service was like everything was mainly in Swahili. So we kind of just went for whatever, just the experience, and there were some in English. And then by the end of the 3 weeks, Ryan went up and did a sermon. And then they would provide porridge at church every Sunday, porridge for the kids. It'd be like a meal, which is just flour and water, and they drink it a lot. And then so Ryan, or UNAFA, partnered with the local church, and they were gonna sponsor this porridge meal. They do it once a week for, I think they just do it once a week, for 50 people or so. And guess how much it costs to feed 50 people with the porridge?
Probably a whole lot less than we would think.
Yeah, do you have a guess?
$5.
$7.
Oh.
$7 to feed 50 people. So he has some plans to maybe start, like, eventually maybe like make it taste a little better and stuff like that. Like I said, I'll have to get him on a podcast where the facts are, he knows everything.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, but he was expecting a bigger number, and then they were like, yeah, it's $7. He's like, oh my goodness. This is when we first got to Fawago. You can notice the painting on the walls is all white, and later we have a project to paint this whole room. But I never got after pictures, so we just have before pictures and no after pictures.
So you didn't paint it white? Or what
No,
did you paint it?
they painted it a bright color. You'll see later on. But this
Okay.
is their welcome song when they have new people come. They say, welcome, welcome, our visitors. Welcome, welcome. Or Unafa. I think they say Unafa, but usually they say our visitors. So this is their worship room. So they have worship every morning and every evening, and this is where they hold it. So we, as our team, it was optional to go to the morning worship, and then we would always go to the evening worship. And then the next day we woke up and we did popcorn for them. So they pretty much eat like the same foods every week, I feel like. So when we come, we treat them with a lot of like things they don't usually get, like soccer balls and kites and stuff. And then we do a popcorn is one of our big ones. So they write on the popcorn bags. We have a team write on the popcorn bags for like words of encouragement and stuff. Like, we love you, Nakupenda, which is we love you in Swahili. And then Bible verses and stuff like that. And then we had another team filling up. Well, the ladies who live there made the popcorn, and then we would package it, tie it up, and pack it away. But we did 400 or something bags of popcorn. And we did this twice. So then the second time we even did more popcorn, and we give that to all the children, and then the staff as well. That's just a picture of the food, one of the meals we ate. This was a really good one that I liked. This was our lunch. We had for lunches we had mango juice or whatever kind of juice. And then they'd have vegetables with every meal. So we ate completely vegan while we were there, except when we went out as a team, to the one cafe I was talking about. This is a picture of all the popcorn.
Did they especially like popcorn?
Oh yeah, they really love the popcorn. I think Ryan, I don't remember the first time he brought them popcorn, but they absolutely loved it. So now we do it every year. And then I just took videos of them getting the popcorn and eating the popcorn. Popcorn. And then this is their play field, I guess you could call it. They have swings, a slide. The young kids roll tires around. And then they had a slide here. So this day I was just on the slide. And then out in the field over here, they would play football or soccer with us. And that was pretty much all of their favorite thing to do, was playing soccer. Oh yeah, see, they're getting a soccer team ready. And then they had you can barely see it. They had two wooden poles with a wooden beam across as their soccer goals. There's worship again, the worship room. So with Unafa, they bought land this year, or last year, pretty close to the orphanage. And then I'll show you later on, we spent some time clearing it out. But then UNIFA, they're going to build there. And then they also have a feeding program in town and the Renew workshop, which is like a sewing workshop. So this is a 60-minute video, and this is just him explaining the feeding program.
You guys are in UNIFA's feeding program, but before we can begin there, I need you guys to kind of understand the umbrella ministry of UNIFA International. So before, I think you did this one with us, Jameson, and I'm pretty sure Evan did this with us as well. When we started as an organization, we knew that we were not going to be an orphan. We knew that we wanted to fill in the missing gaps. The missing gaps that through research will be street children, so children left on the streets to defend for themselves, so homeless children. Women that are being forced into human trafficking and prostitution. Through our research, Gilgil has the highest rate out of any city in the whole country of Kenya, and that's what we just drove through. So at nighttime, when you guys would come, you'll see tons and tons of trucks, company business things, and that is where the industry begins and starts. And so then the third umbrella would just then be the street children, the women, and then those that are lacking in educational need or have not been able to fulfill those requirements. So before the feeding program, we as a ministry organization would go downtown Gilgil, what we just drove through, work with the children's offices and call in all of the street children from Gilgil to come to our meeting place. And we would serve a meal. The number one reason why street children exist is just lack of food. Most of the time there's a home, most of the time there is education, but there's no food. So the reason why these children leave the home or leave school is just basically to find their basic needs met, which is food. We kept doing the street children ministry for a couple of years. The older boys looked at us and said, we need more than just one meal out of an entire year. So this is then when the feeding program came into existence. We are feeding children 7 days of the week. They come here for 5 days, and then Lucy, and I'll introduce you, and then she'll speak a little bit. Every Friday, she makes a meal packet for the family. So Saturdays and Sundays, the family is being fed through the feeding program. Feeding program is 100% run by our monthly donors. As you can see, we have a very small and tight space. We've already outgrown it. We can no longer accept any more children because of lack of space. This space also doesn't have consistent electricity. The space also doesn't have running water. So every day, our ladies have to go fetch water every single morning to prep food, to clean, and get ready for the feeding program. So it is our desire for UNIFA International, one of the first buildings will be our feeding program in our property. Gilgil is quite large. I'm going to be honest, it's too large for us to handle at this point. Us going to Kikope, where the land is, we're going to be able to potentially service 100% of the needy children there, which is a huge blessing that we're not leaving any children behind. So that's just a quick background of how this feeding program is fulfilling one of those umbrella tiers for us, and it's just not putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound that we are potentially eliminating street children in a city like Gilgil or Kikope. So as you guys can look around, everything is organized, run by Lucy. Lucy is our project manager, so she oversees all of our female or women's ministry, which would include anything related to food. We also have our dear friend. Through the feeding program, Lucy was able to connect with Lois. We serviced 2 of her children in the feeding program, Lucy? Yes. 2 of the children. through that relationship and connection, we needed more help in the feeding program. And then we were able to hire one of the children's mothers, Louise. And so she serves here part-time, helping Lucy. So what you guys are gonna be doing today, after Lucy talks to you guys a little bit, you're gonna do food prepping. So you're gonna prepare the meal for today. What's really exciting is over here you're seeing Lois preparing the Chico, okay? That's the only thing we had the very first year of the feeding program. Lucy would be here from like 8 to 8 almost, is that correct?
6:30.
To 6:30, so 8 to about 6:30. Because she had to get the Chico running, and that would take hours just to warm up and can only do one pot at a time. By year 2, we were able to purchase a 4-top burner for the feeding program. We were able to buy containers and storage because Lucy would go shopping more than once a week for the feeding program. Now we go once a month. The meals can be cooked much faster. So yeah, it was just exciting to see this program move forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Lucy. She's going to tell you how we select the children, that process, who she communicates with, and why certain children are coming here. She's going to kind of show you the roster, and then she's going to share a success story with you from the feeding program. So I want to introduce my friend Lucy to you. You ready?
Yeah.
They don't like this. You've gotten so much better. You enjoyed it more and more. All right, so Lucy, can you tell us the process of selecting a child and how a child gets approved into the feeding program?
Okay, you didn't introduce them to us, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry. Okay, Lucy, we have Nolan. Remember Nolan from last year, okay? Do you remember Evan? Okay. Jeremiah is our new friend, so this is his first year.
Welcome.
You may not have been at Fawagwa at the time, in 2018. Were you at Fawagwa? You were gone.
No.
So you were in lessons. So Jameson was here in 2018, and then he came back 5 years later. All right, so, and then I'm right.
Lucy, and I don't know, I'm the project manager.
You are the project manager, Owen Clayman.
Okay.
Congratulations.
I'm the project manager, and Lois asked me, I think she should come. Okay, it's okay,
It's
I don't know what she's doing. So like, currently we are feeding 22 children from team, and they just go nearby school that's around here. So it's easier for them to walk and come eat than go to school for the older ones. And the little ones, they go home after their meals. Or sometimes they have to hang out here and we have to force them to go home because they love playing a lot here. So we identify them through the sub-chief. His leads, okay, like he's one who controls the county. So we identify the children from them, and sometimes we identify from the teachers at school. So like, okay, the teachers, most of them are closer to the children. So they are the ones who know so much about the children. So if those who don't attend schools, they just come and sneak out to go search for food because they barely eat at home. So like we have a case of one child, he just joined recently. He's a boy, so he has been escaping from school. He's 9 years, yes. He has been escaping from school. And their teacher, since there were other children who were feeding from here, he was notified by the mother, like, my son keeps missing at school, so how can he help him? So the teacher is the one who used to feed the child, buying him mandazi, call that.
Mandazi?
Yes. So the teacher would buy for the boy mandazi so that he can stay at school. So it got difficult for him because he also has responsibilities at home. So that's how she came here and asked us if we can help them. So that's how we picked some of the children. Because at their homes, like, it's difficult. Yeah. Currently in Kenya, because our life standard is way much higher than some people who can afford.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Lucy works, obviously you heard her, with the schools, the local chiefs.
Yeah.
Part of her job responsibility is to do home visits. So in order, before we can accept a child, we ask the project manager, Lucy, that she needs to go talk to the chief, the teacher, and do a home visit before that we can approve. Then she creates a roster. You guys see it behind us. This is just a quick glimpse of all the children enrolled into the program. It is a revolving door. They can stay 5 years, 10 years, right? All the way through, basically we kind of stop in grade 8 because in secondary, it is required for them to have a lunch. So we've also kind of have secretively a sponsorship program to help fund secondary meals in the school if we need to. Because again, if the child leaves in grade 8 but can't pay for their meals in high school, we don't want to just, kind of wipe our hands of those children. So after she meets with the teachers, that she does the home visits, she writes up kind of a report for us. We as a board look at it, and Lucy knows our budget, Lucy knows our room space. So at 9 out of 10 times, we're always approving these children that are coming to us. But as you've heard, the need is substantially great, even in a smaller town like Gilgil. To give you guys kind of a big picture, so if you would break Kenya down like in the state of Ohio, which is not, Kenya's a country, Ohio's a state, right? But then you have like districts or territories. We are in the Nakuru district or territory. So that would kind of be like Montgomery County. If Montgomery County in Ohio was like a fourth of the state of Ohio, right? These territories and districts are that large. We do have a desire, right, to service Gilgil, to service Kikope, but then to service Nakuru, right? That is the vision of UNIFA and the feeding program. So currently Gilgil would be like your Dayton or your Columbus or your Cincinnati. And then it has like, the suburbs, Centerville, Kettering, and that's what Kikope is. Kikope would be a subdivision of like a Dayton, Columbus, or Cincinnati. So I just kind of wanted to map that out for you all. Do you guys have any questions about Lucy, the feeding program, what we just kind of walked through? There was one more.
Yep.
Do you mind sharing a success story or something that has gone well through the feeding program?
Yes.
Okay.
So this year we transitioned some of the previous kids we had last year 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had 30 children and we transitioned them. So this is another group that we have currently. So like the ones who were in last year, they had the older ones who are here, so many of them. The children, there were few. The young ones, they were less. So we were able to keep these older ones at school because most of them are the ones who go to search and fend for their families. So it was difficult for them to attend schools. So once they would come feed, at least it would keep them at school and learn. And some of them who performed. So it was easier, and with time, because we are feeding them here, there was that food packages, also their parents, some who got at least to afford jobs to get their children also something to eat at home. Yes.
So Lucy is a trained chef. Even before UNIFA started, I was a part of her story, and we sent her to some training classes, and she has her license and certificate. So she is a trained chef. And what I value and appreciate about our feeding program is you can kind of already tell what's happening is we're not ugali, we're not chapati, and we're not porridge. It is extremely important to Lucy that the children are getting vegetables and fruit almost every single meal. And so again, you'll see her leaving or Lois leaving, and they're gonna go buy bananas right at the local vendor for today's fruit or whatever. Obviously, we don't have refrigerations, so we can't store some of those perishable items. Those do have to be bought on a daily basis. So I am thrilled with Lucy that she prioritizes a menu that is well balanced. And that's why we believe it's so successful, because the children are staying in the schools, they're going home, it's less discipline issues. And what she was saying is, because we're providing a feeding program, food is the most expensive expense here. So families have been able to save and reserve lots of funds where they've been able to be self-sustaining and self-sufficient for their families. And so that's just, anyways, that's the cool part. You also heard Lucy say this kind of becomes like an after-school program. So we just installed some shelving, which is extremely important, because this team is going to set up then our curriculum for the feeding program. So instead of Lucy trying to babysit, we're going to have the coloring pages, the Bible stories, the songs, everything to kind of go along with, for then these children to learn more about Jesus, and then to take these stories and pictures home to their families as well. So again, taking one less thing off of Lucy's plate, where we can set up curriculums, and all she has to do is set out, the pencils and the crayons, and then the stories can even be read by, the older children that can speak English a little bit better, or Lucy, will, share the story. So.
All right. Do you have any questions about that?
I wasn't sure how they feed 25, 30 children. Is that what I understood?
Yeah, I think it was like 22, maybe.
Okay. And how do they determine which children are the needy ones? It seems, just as you shared earlier, the needs are such of extraordinary nature. How do they select a small group to take care of food-wise?
So Lucy, which is the project manager, she talks with the chief of the town or the area, and that he identifies like some children, I guess, and then they go and they talk to the teachers of that children to see how they're performing in school, or if they're in school. And then I think I don't remember the last part. I feel like maybe they go to their house, but I'm not sure. But I don't know. There's just so many children. They said it's like a revolving door. So once they get to like grade 8, they maybe move out of the feeding program, so then another one can come in. But they don't have enough space in this place, so they could have a lot more children in there, but there's just not enough room, or there's not enough room in there to have a bunch of children.
And I think, as I understood, if the children were not the 25, say, aren't provided this meal, they're going to skip school and fend for themselves.
Yeah, I
basically.
think that's what they do, yeah. So Lucy is the project manager, and she graduated from Fawago. So that's how Ryan knows her. Because Ryan's been going there like 11 years, I think.
Okay.
So he's been there for a long time. And I think all the most of the project managers graduated from Fawago, which is the orphanage that we went and stayed at. Yeah. So Lucy graduated, and they put her in school to become a chef. And then a cuckoo was our driver, Duncan. He was our driver, and he graduated, and they put him in to drive. This is how she would cut the cabbage when it got down to the last parts. She's got it right on her hand, and she's just...
Are these kales?
Spinach.
That's a sharp knife to cut cabbage like that, isn't it?
So then we walked down. This is the market. We walked down to the market to get avocados for that meal.
But it's because of lack of refrigeration, they have to shop each day for certain foods.
Yeah, so they don't have running water, and the electricity is really bad, and they don't have so they don't have a refrigerator. So they walk to the market to get like the fresh foods every day, and then they have to walk and get water every day.
How far do they trek to get water?
I don't know the exact distance. It was like when we walked to the market, I don't know where they get their water, but we walked to the market, it was like 10 or 15 minute walk maybe. So maybe a mile, I'm not sure.
Okay.
And then the Renew workshop.
So UNIFA is funding the state side of Renew. So we give Rose a monthly salary, and we continue to purchase and equip all of the fabrics, materials, and supplies needed to sell their items back in the States. With all the American fabrics donated and brought, Rose has complete free range to do with those materials whatever she wishes. And then the money earned from that can support her salary, the salaries of others, and then also then purchase more materials and supplies for in-country of Renew. Is that pretty much what Tanda and Courtney went over with you all? Okay. Then did they discuss what in-country Renew looks like? Okay. So there's a couple different aspects that are taking place in this workshop. Obviously, we've outgrown our space. Potentially not going to expand until we build on our compound. So right now, what happens here is Rose works here full-time to make products for Renew stateside and Renew here in country. But also, women can come here, pay a small fee to use our equipment. So if Noli has training and expertise in how to sew, but doesn't have the machines herself, but wants to make curtains or dresses or clothing for her or her family, they can come to the Renew workshop, pay a small fee, and use our machines. So that's another ministry aspect of what takes place when we're not here. Another ministry and aspect is that Rose and this workshop will continue to train and educate women on how to become seamstresses and how to sew and, start with the basics, curtains, pillow covers, sofa covers, and things like that. Our desire is to continue to send aged out orphans to like Kumbani or other programs to learn the skill set of how to sew. And then we also want to start partnering with AIC and working with their women and their ministries and see how we can collaborate and come together and support one another. So that's all the different aspects that are happening in country on the Renew side. I think we've all shared the vision behind all of this is to rescue, to restore, and empower women to be able to make and earn a living for their families. So that street life is no longer an option, for them. So that's probably just a quick overview of just maybe filling in some of the different pieces that you guys did not get the first time. This is also, UNIFA's office where Lucy and Kuku come and work. We're paying, I think they shared with you $100 a month to rent this space, and that includes the internet. We have security cameras in all 3 rooms, and then just the rental space here. So, I don't know, we're just excited because I think last year we left Rose kind of in the dark, just guessing and like, what do we do? What's this all about? And so that first week we really sat down with a Kuku and Lucy and Rose and really tried to spell out very specific expectations of the both sides of Renew. So that's where our curriculum is going to come in handy. Basically, it's a catalog so that we can come to Rose and order things when we're not here. Because last year, in the last year, Rose wasn't really making anything for Renew because we were still trying to figure that out and what does that look like. So that's why I think they also shared with you that all of our products are named after individuals that are behind the scenes that support and run, this ministry. So we have Lucy picking out her best fabric, and so now we have like the Lucy bag. So that's how we're going to promote and advertise it back in the States. Some of you know like Daniva and Chris. We have Daniva's dining set. So Daniva and Chris really have their heart, their blood, their sweat, their tears into this ministry, as well as this has been something we've all desired, as many of us been here since 2012, of really partnering and working with our aged out orphans and graduated seniors and youth, and just being reconnected that way. Rose is currently working on her bag. She picked out her best fabric and pattern, and we're working on the Rose tote. So we're just excited to see what we can bring back and what we're going to be able to, offer and sell. All those proceeds will continue to purchase materials and supplies for the Renew Shop, but Lord willing that the revenue coming from that will also pay for salaries and or feeding program, or to train more women in getting like their degrees and diplomas and certificates in fashion, design, sewing, tailoring, and all of that.
How many children are in the orphanage at this time?
So it's just under 300. And then on my podcast, I'm going to ask Ryan to explain it all. But the current president of Kenya, put in like an order or a mandate that they're trying to send every orphan home who has any distant or close to relative. So like it doesn't matter like how old they are or whatever, they want to send people home. So Pastor Benson has a list of 50 people, 50 children he has to send home by the end of the year. And then there's like 3.2 million orphans or street children in Kenya, and they're sending them home from orphanages. So it just doesn't make any sense what the president's doing. And I think Ryan was talking to someone, and they were like, at some point the UN is going to have to step in and say that they can't do that, but we don't know when that'll happen. So
Because the orphanages are willing to.
Well, they have to. Well, the orphanages have to send the children home who have any distant relative. Even if they can't provide for the child, they have to send them home.
What do you know the logic behind that?
I don't know. I'll have to have Ryan talk about it because he knows more about it, but I don't think there's any particular reason. It's just the president isn't very great.
Yeah.
So that's another struggle they're having. This is what it's like walking around in the orphanage. All the kids like to feel your arm hairs and pull your arm hair, and they like to feel your hair because they all have shaved heads. And then you always have one or two kids holding your hand when you're walking around the orphanage. So this is Ryan. He doesn't come out often because he's always working, but when he does, he's got all those kids holding on to him. So they really enjoy it when we come into the town.
Now, are these children from the orphanage that were gathered?
This is in the orphanage,
Okay.
yeah. And then we got them soccer balls so they would play. So I think it rained this day, so the gates to like the soccer field or the play field was closed, so they just played around all the buildings and stuff. Got frisbees.
But there's a wall around.
Yeah, there's a wall around the whole place. So this is when we went, we do a special meal. So basically they get to pick their favorite meal that they want and they can make it. So they make the meal, but we pay for the whole meal. So they chose chapati, which is like, I think it's like wheat. It's like wheat. It's kind of like tortillas is what they make, but you have to you roll them out into circles and then you have to put them on I don't know. It's very similar to tortillas. I think it's just different ingredients. And then I took a picture of this because you can see the knife.
Mm.
It's just like a piece of metal welded to like a knife blade. So they would have people rolling and cutting this stuff, and then you'd have to cook them and flip them. And I think I got a video walking in there maybe.
So that's a kind of meal they don't ordinarily have.
Well, they have it sometimes maybe, but I think it's just they all really like it.
Oh, okay.
So chapati and ugali are meals they have that we don't have here,
Okay.
but they really enjoy them. So this is what it was like. They cook those. They're like basically like mini grills, kind of. They just have a fire and charcoal under the bottom. So they had a lot of people in there.
Now, what would your typical day be if there was such a thing?
There wasn't. It just depended on what we were doing, because we had different stuff planned. So we didn't really have a day that was. I mean, maybe we had 2 days that were similar just because I was there for 2 different teams being there. So, like, we went to the feeding program twice and we went to the Renew shop twice. But, like, the first group only went once and the second group only went once. So it just depended. And then we went into, I forget, this is where one of the guys went who graduated from Fawago. It's like a trade school. And they were getting ideas for UNIFA, what they can do, because on the campus or the land, they want to build, like, they want to have the feeding program there. They want to have the Renew workshop. They want to have like plumbing, just like a trade school where they can learn. And like, so most of these people would learn in like 1 or 2 years. These are some of the paintings they did. And then this is a video of, this is a kid, one of the boys who graduated. He used to live, this is kind of like what it's like to live once you leave and try and have to fend for yourselves. So UNIFA is built to kind of transition them into like a working job. So right now they kind of go to the orphanage and then they leave and then they're just back on the streets pretty much because they don't have any education or whatever. So UNIFA wants to step in and provide like housing where they can house, and then they can go to school there and they can start saving money. So once they leave, they can pay for their own house, and then they'll have a job where they can start working for other people. But this is like one of the boys who left, and he's learning right now from a man about welding. So he goes like every day and welds. And then this is where he lives. There's 3 people who live in this house. And it's smaller than this room that we're in now. But there's 3 people who live in there. And they have 1 light, I think. They have 2 beds, a curtain, and they just hang their stuff on the walls. So that's actually an upgrade from where he used to live, because he used to live in one with 5 people. And then he finally, I guess, made enough that he lives with 3 people now here. So it's probably about a little bigger than this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where they live. And this is just the special meal serving. This is just pictures from us serving the special meal. They got a lot of watermelon and pineapple.
Oh, wow.
And then I took a video. I forget what they put. So with the chapati, which is the tortilla looking thing, they did rice and then fruit. And then I think they had some sort of, so there's rice. I kind of went down the line of what they had. Potatoes, I think, maybe. And then some sort of, not stew, like a soup. And then they would get watermelon and pineapple. And then we made it so they could have like like 4 times, like, because they really enjoy it. So they could go back like 4 times to get,
Oh wow.
Okay.
or they would get like a
lot.
lot compared to how much they would usually eat. And then there's pictures of them
Oh my.
eating.
300.
A little under 300. Those are the smallest children there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where did the young children come from? How did they end up in the orphanage?
Usually someone like a family member can bring them there, or like there's situations where neighbors have called like the chief and get told Pastor Benson, and Pastor Benson will go and look at their living situation, and then he will take them in. And then, so I took stories. So once I edit them, I'm going to post them on YouTube so you can see some of the stories of the kids at Fawago, how they got there, and like what they were living, how they were living before they got there.
That's good.
So I'll do those later.
Now, on their clothes, do they have a lot of donations from their clothes?
So when we go, we bring them. We brought them a special pair of socks. So they usually wear a uniform. This year, I think they are required to wear a uniform like all day, every day. So we bought them new uniform socks. We got them special socks. So they all got to choose their personal socks that they could wear. And then one of the churches sponsored, and we got them all Crocs. So we usually get them Crocs every year. And then we get them loofahs. We got them toothbrushes, loofahs, and then we got them underwear as well. So I think we're usually like the only people, unless it's like really bad, but we get them their extra clothes. And then I think the orphanage just provides the uniform clothes.
How many
Okay.
groups like yours go to this location annually?
So we're the only group who's allowed to go. So they used to have a bunch of groups come before, but there were issues like them promising things they couldn't provide and stuff, get the kids' hopes up, and they couldn't provide. So Ryan is like the only one who can bring groups to the place. They have the orphanage has sponsors from like different countries and different states in America, but we're the only group who can go there and like be with the kids.
Okay.
So on Saturday they have their church all day, and then we took them on a nature walk, which they don't usually get to do. So we went across and we hiked up this very big
300
hill.
kids you took?
Yeah, you see them all walking up this hill. And it was pretty steep.
How did you keep track of them all?
Well, everyone just stays together. Then we had to all cross like the highway at the same time. So we had to stop traffic to cross.
Oh, yes.
And then I gave some like during the week you can like give one of the kids your phone, and they'll take pictures like all day, and then they'll return it to you by the end of the day. So a lot of the time we just hand out our phones because they like to take pictures, because they can't have phones at the orphanage. They can have phones like when they're on holiday at their house, or like holiday is like their break from school. So I think they have one break a year, maybe it sounded like. So these are just pictures they took. They took a lot of pictures. So it was 3 weeks, and I got 1,400 photos on my phone.
No wonder you got so many.
This is Abby. So when they are like really young and they join the orphanage, they they have like three. It's kind of hard to explain. How do I explain this? So there's one kid who watches over like the new kids who come in. So they come in, they kind of like train them a little bit. And then once they're old enough or they understand. So this is Abby, and she's so sassy, and she basically runs the school just because of how sassy she is.
How old?
She is
About?
like about 5 years old. She's probably like this tall, probably shorter than the table, but she's funny. One of the teachers rides their motorcycle to the orphanage, and we played a soccer game down there, and they got Abby on there, and she was just sitting on the motorcycle like this while everyone was playing soccer. So this is how I did my laundry while I was there. Had to soak it in detergent and just do it with my hands, rinse it, and wring it out and hang it up. Which took probably an hour or two, which was not my not my most exciting moment. So that was the first week, and then the second 2 weeks decided I would use a lot less clothes. So I rewore a lot of clothes, and I didn't have to do laundry again. This is the bathroom at the church we go to. Just a hole in the ground. Yep. So this is when we started. They spackled the walls first because it was kind of rough. So they spackled them to make them a little more smooth before they painted over them. And they don't have any electric, so this is how they mixed their spackle. You know, like the powder and then water, and then they just had sticks, and they would stir them with the sticks. And these were all kids also who graduated from Fawago. One of the guys started the company, or whatever you want to call it, and they've slowly got more work and more people to join them. So, oh, this is really funny. This kid here, he's got a stick with a string onto it, and he tied a beetle onto the end of the string. So he would just walk around with a beetle flying around.
He drew attention, didn't he?
Yeah. So really we helped. So they basically hired this crew to paint, but we kind of helped. We did all the spackling, and then we actually were gone when they painted it. So we helped with the spackling, but we didn't get to paint it. Not sure what that video was. Guess it's just walking. Maybe I don't know. These are the pills I took every day. So I had malaria. I took vitamin, a multivitamin. I was sick when I was there, or most of us were. So I was taking Mucinex, like an off-brand Mucinex. And then I took Dayquil. And then I also took fish oil, just because I had them.
But everybody took a malaria pill.
Yeah, so there are 2 different types of malaria medication I think you can take, weekly and daily. So I was on the daily, so I would take those every day, and then other people would take them once a week. It just depends on which one.
Is that still a common ailment there?
Yeah, so and then once you get malaria, you have it for your whole life. It just goes dormant, and it can flare up any time. So I know Pastor Benson's had malaria a couple times, but that's like the one you can't really get shots or anything for. So these are just more pictures of us working. So I took a lot of pictures just to share with everyone, like, because we all had a shared photo album. This was our first day on the Unifa land. We went there and we did markers, so we marked marked the boundaries. It was like, I think it's 8 point something acres. So this is just pictures. So for the Unifa land, it started off as bushes. They bought it when it was bushes. but you have to clear it before you can do anything on it. So we spent 2 days here clearing it and burning all the brushes. This is just someone who walked up with their goats. And that's why another thing you have to do, you have to get electricity, you have to get water, and you have to get perimeter, like the walls around the area, before you can start building or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So our first step was clearing it. We spent 2 days there clearing it. We got poured on this video. It was just it was just pouring the rain.
But it wasn't chilly.
No, it got real cold.
Oh, it did?
This is their winter time. So our summertime is their
Oh.
winter time. So it was like pretty much Michigan weather, maybe a little warmer than we are now. It's like 70, 76, and then it would be windy, and then it would usually rain. So it's their rainy season, which is like their winter. So it would rain most nights. Or not most, but some of them. And then while they were redoing the worship room, like painting it, we had worship outside, which we all really enjoyed. Oh, so this is kind of what it looks like. That's the worship room. So you can see it's like yellow and orange.
Okay.
And then the brown was textured. These are when we handed out our socks. These were the kids. They were in quarantine in the clinic because they had mumps when we were there.
Oh.
So they spent about a week in the clinic. Ryan mentioned this to the church. They should have a worship night. So on Friday they had a worship night where whoever could come at night on a Friday, and it got really crazy with dancing when they were singing. This is the church, which is not related to the orphanage at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, so you walk from the orphanage to the church?
We drove. It was
drove. Okay.
the church is in Kikope, which is where the land is. So it was funny to see the difference of us. This was like the first night the Americans were like dancing, because like they would dance at church and we'd all just be standing there because we're not used to it. But they really appreciated that they got in line and started dancing. That was their night of worship, and then they had food. I think we paid for that food. I'm not sure. I don't remember. And then Unifa bought a car while they were there, a van. So this is the day they got their van. And I just got pictures of some of the kids. Another special thing we did was we got sugarcane for them. They got it from their garden. And then all the kids got 2 pieces, but they really enjoy, because I don't know if they get sugarcane any other time than, like, any of this stuff. I don't think they get it unless we're there.
Just you guys.
Yeah.
There you
Oh, yeah, me cutting some of the sugar cane just to see what it was like. They'd cut them into like 2-foot long pieces, and each kid would get 2 of them.
Then they just chew on the
Yeah, have you ever had sugar cane?
go. No.
not raw sugar cane. No.
So it's actually pretty good. It's like super hard though. So you have to like peel off the outside. It's basically like bamboo is what
Okay.
it kind of reminds me of. You have to peel off the outsides of it, and then you bite off a piece, and then you chew it, get all the sugar. It's like sugar water basically, and then you spit the rest out.
Okay.
But it's really hard on your teeth. I took a video though of the pastor doing it. They're really good just because they've eaten it before. But I got my, like, after the second bite, my gums were bleeding, and then I got
Oh.
cuts on the side of my mouth that took
Oh,
like
yeah?
a week or 2 to heal.
Oh.
But I took a video of the Pastor Benson eating it, and it was crazy how fast he did it. And then I took a video of myself to try and compare. So this is him, Pastor Benson. You can see how fast he eats it. And he bites off a big chunk too.
You're welcome. Dennis, grab some.
Oh my goodness! He got like a hockey puck size. This is a video of me trying to get just a small piece off. And the outsides of mine are already peeled off, so I was just trying to get a piece to suck on. And they're laughing at me in the background. See how fast he did it? I can got a little bit there. And then I got a decent size. But I could only eat, so it's like bamboo where there's like sections of it. I could only eat one section, and at the end I was like, my stomach hurts because of all the sugar you were
Oh,
eating.
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Played a lot of soccer while we were there because they really enjoy it. And then one day we had wazungus, which are the Swahili word for white people. So it was wazungus versus the Kenyans. We had a soccer game, and we won. The white people won. Right, last year the Kenyans won. So it's kind of a fun one. It's the senior boys versus the Americans. So these are just pictures. And then we went on a water safari that Ryan wanted to take us on. Oh, early in the week, I don't know where my pictures are, but earlier, I must have skipped past them. Me and like the new people who went, or people who didn't go last year, went on a safari. So we actually got lucky. We were planning to see like 1 or 2 things, and we got lucky and we saw like lions, like from here to the couch.
Oh.
We saw hippos and giraffes and stuff like that. It was a car, so you'd be in a car and
Oh,
the top would
okay.
open up. So everyone's like, you got to do it. It's fun the one time, and then you probably don't want to go again. Like, it's a fun experience to go once, but then like the next year you probably won't want to go again. But we got fortunate that our group got to see a lot of animals. And then this is a water safari that we went on. They had fish eagles. They just had a bunch of birds, but they were fish eagles. About the size of an American eagle, it looked like. They threw a fish out into the water, and it came down off its nest, came and picked up the fish and flew back, which was cool. And then the water safari took us to an island called Crescent Island, and then we walked around the island and then got back on and boated back. And we took the project managers while we were there. And then we got a tour on the island, and he showed us how to feed ostriches. So it was really funny.
Oh my.
They're such goofy animals, but we got to feed them up close. And then Rose and Lucy, who have the 2 kids, they brought their kids on the safari, which was kind of fun. And this is Duncan. And he was our driver pretty much the whole week. I took this picture. Oh, look at this. You see what that says? That was right by the water safari we did. VAUGHAN. Private property.
Did you tack that sign? up?
No. I was like, no one spells
You
it that way.
You
That's
didn't know
crazy.
you had relatives over there.
Yeah, I
did you?
guess not. Then I took this picture. Can you see what they're doing, Grandpa?
No, I can't quite tell what that is. Oh, they're welding.
Yeah, and that's their welding machine right there. And the wheelbarrow.
My goodness.
The kid that I showed you their house, the video of their house, it was like the size of this.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
They work at Fawago doing welding. So that was the guy who was teaching him. But that was their welding machine. And then we had a crew. This was our second nature walk. It was up to the hot springs. But we had a crew of us who wanted to run it. It was 700 or 800 feet incline. And it was like 2.5 miles one way. So we had some of us run it. I ran like 90. It's like a hill basically, just running up a hill. But I ran like 98% of the way. And they took me through a shortcut, but it was like bushes all around. So you had to I was trying to run, but it was like you had to duck under and then you had to climb over a rock. I was like, why didn't you guys take me on the road? I wanted to run the whole way. And then my shirt was completely drenched. Like I could wring it out. And then this, his name's Daniel, who ran with us, who's one of the kids who stayed there. He didn't have a drop of sweat on him when we got to the top. And then the altitude was, so it's in Ohio, it's like 760 feet maybe above sea level. And then in Kenya, where we were at, it was 6,400 feet. So running that 2.5 miles uphill was a tough one. But then we got to the gate, and the villagers in that town gated it off, and they were making us pay to get into the hot springs. So we didn't go. So we hiked 2.5 miles there and just turned around and went back. This was our second day at the land. We brought a lot of the seniors, like I think the whole senior class, which was maybe 40 people. I'm not sure, but we had to bury the cacti because you have to bury them. If you burn them, they'll just regrow. So we dug like 5-foot holes with hose. We had shovels and pickaxes, and we dug like a 5-foot hole, 2 of them, and then we buried the cacti, and then we continued burning the brush. So these are just some pictures of us or them working. I spent most of my time working digging the hole. So I don't know if you can see my healed hands here. But
you didn't have gloves with you, huh?
at the time I thought to use gloves, it was already too late. So I was like, I'll just keep going. So that was my hand. I had 3 blisters on this hand. And then I had, I think 2. I had 3 on this one too as well. But we got all the cactus in there, and that one. Filled it. That was like 5 foot. And it filled it all the way up to the tippy top.
5 foot deep?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then we had a senior night with just the seniors, and they got to pick. We used to do juice, so we would bring them juice. But this year they just wanted a bunch of fruit. So we cut up a bunch of fruit, and they could all just eat fruit. And then we hung out and played games. My phone ended up dying that night. And then we woke up, got my phone again, so a lot of pictures, and then this was our day leaving. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. And stay tuned because I'm going to be releasing a lot more content on my trip to Africa. So stay tuned and enjoy.